All right, welcome back, everybody. We are ready to go talking about musicals this month. We have we're starting off strong with many would say the greatest movie musical of all time.
Yeah,
I am one of those many.
same.
Spoiler alert on whether or not I recommend this movie.
True.
Singing in the Rain.
Yeah,
Um,
Singin. There's no G in
Singing.
the original in
Yeah,
the official title.
yeah. So we're gonna be talking about Singing in the Rain or Singing in the Rain today. Um, and before we get into that, though, I do want to talk because I like to sometimes diffuse for a second or get off topic for a second. Um, I'm moving back into my house as some of you know, and I've been going through all my books and realizing how many that I haven't read. A lot of that percentage wise is because when I'm done with them, if I know I'm not going to reread it, I donate it. But I also have the same thing with some movies because I buy movie packs sometimes. Like especially like Apple TV will have like 25 movies for $25, and then I just never get around to watching it.
That's how you ended up with one of the Italian month movies.
Yes, yeah. And so I've gotten into I have to look at that list altogether with the DVD Blu-rays that I have because I think there's a couple of there that I haven't seen, and then all the stuff I have on Apple TV. I think you should do the same thing, and we
Yeah.
should try to make a point of like we'll post that and like work through that list a bit. Those, A, because we have them already, and B, if we, like that's it's like a TBW list, right? It's like
Yeah.
something that and that may just especially because some of those are bought in packs, right? They
Yeah.
may open us up to stuff that we wouldn't have thought to watch otherwise,
That's true.
and give us a little more variety. Like I really liked what when we did Italian month. One of the things was we were like, okay, we want every week to be a different director, no repeats. We made rules that kind of pushed us. And I think that when we push ourselves, even though those aren't necessarily our most popular episodes, they're pretty interesting to us to make. So I
Yeah.
think that it might be a good thing. So if you're interested in that, please comment down below and let us know like if you think that's a good idea. Also, as always, you should be commenting and telling us what what movie topics you want to see for a month or anything that you think we need to be covering. We want to know about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, go on and do that. And we're going to be posting a lot more on social media again soon in the next couple days probably. And one of those things I'm going to do is I'm going to try to make a list of all the things that we haven't seen. And maybe we'll even make a ranking. Maybe we'll let people
Yeah.
vote on it and see like what we should be watching in what order. So
Yeah, I think that would be a good way to move through the older films that you and I maybe were fans of, or, and I'm guilty of this in most of this project we've worked on, I've seen like portions of these films, but never all the way through. And if you look at any of the transcripts from our episodes, you can hear me say, oh, I watched it.
mhm.
Third person, or I watched it, pieces of it, or I
Yeah.
remember what was it? I think for October for Horror Month and also for Black History Month, I had seen jokes and SNL skits about these films
Oh
and
yeah.
never seen them. So I'm realizing what they were made about after I've already seen the joke about it. So I know there's some movies in this place that I have not gone through,
Yeah.
and I married into a household full of media, whether it be vinyl records, whether it be books behind me. So
Yeah.
we have enough to go through, audience. We would appreciate y'all's feedback, and we're going to make the best too long didn't watch month that we can make out of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Singing in the Rain, I will
Yeah.
say, look at the smile on my face. Singing in the Rain is a film that I did not see till my stepmom, who is a huge movie fan, told me I needed to see it because in my, although musical, very versed in musical household, my parents my real parents met in an acting company and were both in the productions on this Gilbert and Sullivan company for 15 years. So
But
we
where
were
did your
no
fake
strangers.
parents meet?
My fake parents met on eHarmony. My stepmom, she's the one from eHarmony, said, "You haven't
Oh,
seen Singing in the Rain?" I was like, No, we didn't watch that stuff. And my dad, looking a little embarrassed, was like, yeah, I didn't exactly bring him up that cultured. So this is a film that was released in 52. And when Mike told us, or told the group that the theme is meta commentary in a film, this is like 6 layers of that, especially watching it
Yeah.
in 2026.
Yeah.
This is a film about the past that it was made on, but now it's a film about the past that we're watching it in 26, and there's even a fourth layer ish here too. So for me, pre-production on this, it's Hollywood pulling back the curtain,
Yeah.
laughing at the machinery, and then providing and then proving that the machinery, all the gears of this thing still work.
Yeah.
And that's what we can see now watching it in like retrospect in 26, watching a film from 52 is it's just so killer because it's not just a musical, it's a movie about movies, which
Right.
I thought was cool.
Right. I agree. And one of the things that made me want to, one of the things I said this going into this month was I want to do movies that were movie musicals before they were stage musicals or anything else.
Which
And
is
that
crazy restrictive once you start to think about all your
it's
favorites.
well, what it is it narrows it down. Like, yes,
Well, it
for
makes
sure,
it sure
but
they're
it's
films. It makes
yeah,
it sure
yeah.
they're good films first and
And
not like because
there's plenty of great musicals that were adapted to movie musicals. Obviously,
Sound of Music.
there's at least
Sound of Music.
4 or 5 Best Pictures, including Sound of Music, West Side
Sound of
Story, Chicago.
Chicago,
But I
yeah.
was like, but it's an interesting thing, and I listened to a guy talk recently about all the Best Picture. He did a video about all the Best Picture winners sequels, like because lots of Best Pictures have sequels,
Oh,
and one of the
yeah.
movies that won Best Picture that ended up having sequels, so he ended up talking about the series was, and they mentioned it in this movie, is the Broadway Melody. So it was, and the Broadway Melody movies were really not like big time story movies. They were just an excuse for music and song and dance numbers.
Mhm.
Whereas, like, we think of a musical now in 2026 as being a story where we fit music in and it meshes together.
Yeah.
And it's been that for 70 years, roughly, right? Like, and I think it was that on Broadway, for a long time too. But like when they first started, because talkies were such uh, a novel idea at the beginning, it was like, well, obviously we
Hmm.
want to do music. Music's easier to sync because everybody's got timing, right? And so
Yeah.
so those first musicals are really, really like, I would argue cheesy in the sense that like all they are, and we see some of that in this movie. And so like this movie is
We
that
do.
perfect mix match of everything I wanted, everything that it talks about everything that I kind of was like, that history
Hmm.
part that I was like, I don't want to do that. It doesn't necessarily address the adaptations, the stage adaptations doesn't really talk about that much at all, which is fine. Um, but like I think this was like perfect and then when I saw, I remembered that it dove into the process, but I didn't remember how much we saw. It's probably been 20 years since I've seen this movie. At least 10, if
At
not
least
20.
15 for at least
Yeah.
15 for me because my dad's been divorced from her for at least 10 years now. And it
Oh,
was one
okay.
of the first things that we remember. Uh, my brother and I remember our stepmom being like, you guys need to both sit down and watch this. Like, you
Yeah.
guys love musicals. You need to just see
Yeah.
this. And my brother's like, is it anything like Sound of Music? I said, it's a lot less World War II.
Yeah. But
But
like, so going into this movie, I didn't remember. I've seen this is my third time seeing it, I think.
I,
I didn't remember how much of the like
of the
when they get into
technical they
the
went into.
well,
Yeah.
that no, the silent when they get into the silent movie when they're showing the silent movie stuff. I remembered that they were silent movie stars, and I didn't remember how much we saw of the like
Oh yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
The really theatrical, like classic, almost overacting on
Mhm.
film for like how long were those action snippets? Like 10 seconds, 15 seconds, and then it would cut to a black screen with a frame in the text.
Yeah.
and then it'd be another 10 to 15 seconds, and then it would cut. And it
Yeah.
was almost 50% of the film was those cards, and the other 50 was this black and white, just very dramatic overacting. And I
So
think, was that a trope in Hollywood at the time? Like that's what
okay,
people acted like, or was
they
that
did they
stylistic?
well they did use those cards for dialogue, but
Yeah.
the things that I think have aged well, the silent movies that have aged well were not dialogue heavy. So you
No.
don't
Yeah.
see it broken up that same way. Whereas I think like people didn't mind
Oh.
it. 100 years ago, people weren't like, "Oh, there's a lot of reading to do." I think it was more
Okay.
like it was more of a sense of like this is what it is. Whereas we now have kind of got Charlie Chaplin. There would be any given one of his movies might have like 5 to 10 of those cards throughout a feature length movie,
Yeah, there wouldn't
and
be as many. You're right.
right,
The memory of it, the bad ones, it's like 10 seconds, 10 seconds. You're right. But the
right.
good ones, the ones that have stood the test of time,
Well,
the acting, the facial expressions, the staging, like
yeah.
that's what we remember more.
But I think also it's the things that that have aged well that we think of still are not that they're bad versus good, but that they still hold up. So like I think
Okay.
if you went and saw a romance movie, you had to do more of that because you couldn't show the actual sex of it. You could show a little bit of kissing, right? But and I know that
And not even that much now. Like, or
right
but
well
back
and I,
then, yeah,
well
no.
and pre Hayes Code you could show more than you could post during the Hayes Code, but even still you weren't
True.
showing like a porn. So like if you were in silent movie, you were there was the like, oh, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo kind of stuff. Whereas when
Yeah.
you think about the things that held up, they held up because Charlie Chaplin, you get a lot of comedic action, Buster Keaton comedic action, and they knew how there was a choreography to like if you watch is it it's Modern Times, Charlie Chaplin does the skating like around the like right near the open hole,
Hmm.
and you watch Buster Keaton as the thing falls down the building. So you had those things don't need dialogue, and they were
No.
so and they're timeless. Like those are timeless still because we still look at that and go, well, that was impressive.
And this film
And
has some of that. So
right, but
specifically, like the "Make 'Em Laugh" song,
it has that,
it
but
has that specifically with the set falling right
mhm,
around Cosmo, like it happened.
mhm. That's because they understood, but by
Yeah,
1952 they understood kind of like this is
this
what
works.
this was the romantic like box office romantic sweet stuff that sometimes those popular movies are and still today sometimes the most popular movie doesn't age the best, right? Like
Hmm.
because it's like it caught the moment or it caught the culture, and then it's like, okay, well, 25 years later, 50 years later, 100 years later,
Yeah,
do we care about, do we want to see like old timey fonts writing, or do we want to
right.
whereas like it will always be impressive to watch somebody do something physically
Yeah, demanding.
intense and demanding,
Yeah,
choreographed well, and music and stunts and like all of
which is
I mean
why
think
Chicago holds up too.
right,
Chicago has fantastic dancing.
yeah,
And for that matter, so does this. So, what Gene Kelly, obviously, but those films where the most casual audience can see Singing in the Rain and understand there was talent here.
yeah,
And that's why I think this movie is nostalgic, but like you were saying, it's not naive to what it is. It's like
yeah,
it's aware. Like MGM was aware what they were making,
yeah,
and they weren't afraid of it, and they could get away with being more critical and being a little tongue in cheek about it because they had the money and the backing. If this
right,
flopped, so the hell what? It didn't. But if it did, they weren't scared of the backlash because they were such a big studio at the time. And the meta layer is really baked into the construction of the film too.
hmm,
So I already mentioned "Make 'Em Laugh" and "Moses Supposes." Those are probably two of the most known songs in here that are not the title song, and they were written specifically for the film.
i i
Most of the go ahead.
I don't agree that those are the most famous of the songs from the
You
movie.
don't.
No.
Which do you? Okay, because
Okay, obviously the title song, "Singin' in the
well, I
Rain."
was saying, but I said other than the title song.
Okay, and then secondly, I think that and maybe this is just me because
Oh,
my
good
mom used
morning.
good
Good
morning
morning.
because my
Okay.
mom used to wake us up to that when we were kids. She'd come in and good
Good
morning,
morning. Good morning.
Yeah,
It's great to stay up late. Good morning.
yeah,
Yeah, I
and
agree with
then
that. So it might not be the most popular. They're the ones that stuck out to me.
I love Moses Supposes.
Yeah,
I'm not
I
not
do
I
too.
actually love both of those scenes. I don't I those are
You have a
more for me
specific
deep
affinity
cuts.
for Good Morning. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I
So
just think it's
they
more
were written.
famous.
It could be. Again, Musical House, I have the weirdest memory of Gilbert and Sullivan songs. I could probably recite most every major title song from every Gilbert and Sullivan production because every year around this time of year, my parents would be playing them on records loud as can be the entire theater season because this would be when mom was making the costumes and my dad was rehearsing lines even though he memorized every one of them. This was fun for him.
Hmm.
He would be at rehearsals and not even be holding the sheet music because he had memorized it all already. Like he's a wild conundrum, this man. So those two specific songs, "Make 'Em Laugh" and "Moses Opposes," were written specifically for this film. Most of the songs came from earlier. Most of the other ones came from earlier MGM musicals and the 1920s and 30s catalog. The title song itself first appeared in the Hollywood Review in 1929.
Hmm.
So even this like meta layer of the film was worked in from the very beginning, where they're even doing commentary on their own content from even like 20 years before that.
Hmm.
So I really
I
think I think my favorite for pre-production, I really like the opening red carpet and Don Lockwood's fake story.
hmm
Like that is
I
that
really
that
like
is
that
so
scene.
entertaining. I enjoy that.
I want to get back to what you said though about the like going back to their own story of the it was from the
Oh yeah,
1929 or
yeah.
whatever music. So I want to talk about perspective in time right now for 1 second before we dive into production.
I think it's good
So
for this topic too.
like we are it's 2026. We just had the 98th Academy Awards.
Hmm.
The first Academy Awards started the that season opens August 1st, 1927. So we are almost 99 years away from that opening season. The Jazz Singer comes out. The Jazz Singer, is famously the first talkie. It's also mentioned in this movie.
It's yeah, it is. Yep.
The Jazz Singer comes out in October 6th, 1927. And this movie comes out in 1952 and is a part of the 25th Academy Awards. So it's a quarter of the way to where we are now. And the
Yeah.
perspective of that 25 years, and like, as when last time I watched this, 25 years seemed like a long time, but I've been out of high school almost 25 years, right? So like 25 years has changed perspective for me quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's you get to that point where you're like, okay, so we're 100 years out from the events of this movie, and we're 75 years out from the movie itself, and the perspective that we have of the 20s movies and the perspective they had 25 years later
Yeah.
isn't that much different, if we're completely honest. Like that, all of that work of like that becoming old and weird and stagnant, like the silent movies and stuff, that had already been done to some degree in that first 25 years. Because it's very, I mean, there's an affinity for it. These are people who appreciate that too.
Yeah.
But there is also, like I love the scene um, where he is fighting with what's the woman's name, and why am I spacing on her name?
Lena
Um,
Lamont.
Lena Lamont, who is amazing. She is so
She's
good in this
so
movie.
good in this. You're not
He's
kidding.
he's he's fighting with Lena Lamont after she got is it Mary? I'm forgetting some of the character names.
Oh, the one he actually has eyes for?
Yeah, after she got her fired, he's talking to her. They're filming the first part of the Dueling Cavalier, and that was part of where I was like, "Oh, this is interesting too," because they're filming this silent scene, right? And he's like, they're like,
So
"Okay,
Debbie,
action."
Kathy Selden, you're right, Debbie
Kathy
Reynolds, yeah.
Selden, yeah. but they're having this fight, and they're like, okay, ready to shoot, and so they go into, and they're like, you conniving little asshole, like,
Oh, I
like,
love
and
that scene where they're like,
how
yeah,
could
yeah,
you stupid
yes,
bitch, like,
you're right.
and
And there's complete comedy in that because they can't get her to talk into the mic.
mm-hmm.
So
No, this is before the mic.
she talk.
This
Oh,
is
this
the
is
first
before it.
time.
Okay.
This is the later that night they have the
Oh, this is still dueling Cavalier because it's
dueling
not
cavalier,
dancing Cavalier
right?
yet. You're right.
Yeah,
You're right. Okay. I really do enjoy how well Gene Hagen did Lena Lamont, and
hmm
I incorrectly attributed Lena Lamont to one of the inspirations for Miss Piggy. She is not. There
oh,
is an official canon recognized person who is Miss Piggy. It is not Lena Lamont, played by Gene Hagen in Singin' in the Rain. I
she is
I
so
really
great in this movie.
oh,
Like,
she's
she is.
fantastic, dude.
I there's if I were gonna say, like, performance wise, she's the only one that got nominated. She is my favorite performance. Now,
Yes,
there's lots of thing, like, I would say it's her, and then it is
Cosmo.
Cosmo.
For me,
It-
Cosmo's my
the,
second for sure.
Cosmo, because he's so good at the physical stuff. I love the,
And
like,
he's so
I
sarcastic.
love the
He could
sarcasm.
deliver his lines
I
every
love
time.
and
What is
I
it? Studio ain't got that much money.
I
Like,
love when the head of the studio says to him, "Remind me to give you a raise," and he turns back to Don, and then he goes, "Yeah, yes, Cosmo, you got to give me a raise." And I used to do that to, like, anytime my mom would be like, "Can you remind me to, like, take the chicken out?" I'd be like, "Take the chicken out." Like, I would always do it
oh,
before I
oh,
saw
oh,
this
oh.
movie.
I 100% still do that with Holly, and she'll be like, later, remind me later, and I'll just sit there and look at my watch. Hey, honey, take out the garbage.
Yeah,
So
I loved it.
go. I really did too. And speaking of the character building, the first big joke in this movie is even meta. Is that celebrity branding is fiction,
Yeah,
and despite Don Lockwood, played by Gene Kelly, is is not a slick, evil, gross Hollywood type. He's not. He's way more heartfelt than that in the way that he interacts with the different characters, especially when Kathy gets fired.
yeah,
But he has no problem polishing up that image and making it like perfect for this red carpet event with that person introducing everybody. And speaking of Cosmo's physical comedy, I like how the lady announcing it slaps away his hand when he goes to shake Don's hand. She's like, "Fuck off, Cosmo!" Like she's like smacking him away like this because he's trying to get any kind of attention. This film keeps separating image from reality. So
yeah,
Don Lockwood is sold as a dignified matinee idol, right? He is pinned as coming from slapstick and stunt work, and then Lena Lamont is sold as glamorous and desirable until she talks, but her voice destroys the illusion. And Kathy Selden is dismissed as just a stage performer, but she becomes kind of this hidden engine that makes this entire film have any conflict, because this middle third of the film is all about how the jazz singer had talkie and they were going to make the dueling cavalier that didn't, and they realize that that's what this bitch sounds like, and they can't recast her because they've already shot all this stuff, they
yeah.
already have put her on promotional material. So it's the hidden movie within a movie work that really adds to our theme of meta commentary, but also is such a topic of the time and audience. I did not know this because I don't watch this stuff. Downton Abbey had an entire episode literally ripping Singing in the Rain.
Isn't
They
Downton Abbey like
had,
World War I?
yeah,
So,
they maybe not World War One, but definitely like Victorian England. She was saying, "Oh yeah, no, they had a girl who couldn't talk right, and her accent sounded like shit, and they mentioned the jazz singer." So all of this stuff, she said, was absolutely an episode.
oh, well, I also think that, like, a lot of the stuff really happened. Like, I think there was a lot
Oh, it did.
a lot of people who looked one way and then didn't sound that way and weren't able to
Yeah.
transition. Um,
Yeah,
you know,
Kathy's the voice, Lena's the face, Dawn is the brand, Cosmo's the grease.
yeah,
That's one of my like lines, and then my wife said, "And the studio is the lie," and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's good." So these four people, reluctantly working with Lena, like they had to,
yeah.
because Don knows this is his money ticket. Oh, and also, speaking of knowing what they're looking at, Don's costumes are ridiculously over the top.
Mm-hmm.
His like knickerbocker socks with like the baggy God, what would those be called?
I feel like it's
Just
a play on Errol Flynn Robin Hood stuff.
yeah. It feels a little like that, and now I'm remembering Puyi in Last Emperor,
Yeah.
like dressing in that like all white V-neck tennis outfit,
Yeah.
right? So Don
That would have been
Lockwood,
around the same time as, that would have
yeah,
been the 20s. And he was
yep,
trying to copy America.
and he was trying to copy America. Don Lockwood wearing those like knickerbocker socks with baggy trousers to the knees. It was the week like, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
they filmed him from the knees. It was the scene when he's when they want to make it the dancing cavalier,
Mm-hmm.
when they're talking about that with DRTR. What was his name?
FR.
FR.
RF.
RF. When they're talking to RF about like changing the film to compete with the jazz singer, he's wearing like this outfit, and it's got huge lapels, but the socks just killed me. I was like, oh, I can see even Gene Kelly putting that on in like a BTS video and being like, this looks stupid, but I'm wearing it anyway.
I mean, he is credited with also, he's like co-credited as a director on it. So,
Yeah, he is. Yep.
so I'm sure, like I think he good or bad, he was committed.
Oh yeah.
And that's all I've ever heard about him on this. But um,
What's your hit for production?
okay, so a couple things. So let's talk about the story real quick for people who don't know. Essentially, we are introduced to Dawn real quick, and what was her name again? Lena Lamont.
Lena Lamont.
They are a on-screen duo that in the silent era that is like, they're like Julia Roberts and George Clooney. Like they're like, and quickly we're introduced to the two of them and how like big their life is. And Dawn accidentally ends up meeting Kathy, who is she's going to be a theater actress. She's going to New York, and you say like she was kind of incorrectly or like pigeonholed to that, but she doesn't pigeonhole. She kind of puts herself in that place.
Mm-hmm.
And then we very quickly, within the next scene, find out that she's actually a dancer at the Cocoa Lounge or something, Coconut Grove.
The Coconut Grove.
And she hops out of a cake at the party for their like wrap of their movie.
And that's after she shit talks Don
as not
after
a real
bringing
actor.
him home as not a real actor.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm on stage and I am so much better.
Right.
It's nothing like the living flesh. And then he like jokes on her and feeds her the same lines back at the party after she jumps out of the cake.
So that's our setup, and then very quickly while they're at that party, we find out about the jazz, or like right afterwards, we find out the jazz singer, and it's clear, like people at the party are like, this is a hoax, or like it's a fad, it's it's not going to be a thing, and RF is like, this is going to be a thing, like we're going to have to. He's pretty savvy in that way, and quickly you realize like, oh, Dawn has what it takes to move on, like to move forward, and Lena doesn't. Yeah. But Lena's too big of a star to just ditch. And they have this movie,
and they're invested in her. The studio's invested in her,
right? So then they're like, okay, we're gonna make it a talkie. And when they go to shoot the talkie part, before they decide to make it a musical, they shoot the talkie. And I want to say this is just another piece of meta. Not within the movie, but within our lives, is that I edited last week's episode, and then that night I watched Singing in the Rain. And I edited our episode where you guys don't know, hopefully, because I do a good job editing, but Alex with his keyboard the whole time. I finished editing. I
And my
mean,
wife.
literally, anytime he's not talking, he is typing away, finding something on his keyboard. It was so
Yep.
loud on last week's episode, and I cut out so much. I was like, every time he's not talking, cut the audio. And I did so much of it. And then I'm watching that night, and they show the like preview of this like talkie version of the Dueling Cavalier. And Lena is like, she's got this big pearl necklace, and you just hear,
Oh yeah.
and I was like, oh, it's Alex. Lena Lamont is Alex. And then
can't stand him.
I can't stand him. And then so I just thought that was hilarious. But then we see this transition and how she's gonna suffer, and like they can't really let that happen. So Kathy, we find out, has a good voice, speaking and singing, and so they're like, we'll just dub all her stuff. And Lena at first seems dumb enough that they could do that and she wouldn't notice. And so like, but quickly we realize that she does know, and she's like, well, no, she's gonna be the one doing this for me forever. And we kind of see, as Dawn and Kathy's love grows, she also is jealous there because she believes the tabloids that she should be with Dawn. And
not like joking. The first time I saw this film,
I thought we were going to get married.
Yeah, I genuinely thought that Lena's character was always just doing it to keep up appearances. But no, the deeper you get in the film, you realize she genuinely believes the fan magazines, as they called them back then, that she and Dawn were like meant to be together. Like,
but we also find out she's not that stupid. Like, because when she makes her turn to like full villain we're like, oh, she's not dumb, even though she seemed dumb the whole movie. We're like, oh no, she's conniving, and we go through this whole thing. They refilm the Dancing Cavalier. They get to that point, and she's like, she's gonna be doing my voice forever, or I'm gonna sue the studio. The studio's not allowed to talk shit about me. They go to the premiere. And people are like, why do you sound like that? You didn't sound like that in the movie. And they're like, sing a song for us. And she's like arguing with them. And they're like, okay. And I love that they don't have time to tell Kathy what they're going to do. And they're like, Kathy, you have to go out there behind her and sing into a different microphone. And Kathy's like, oh, right, Dawn, but I'm done with you forever. Like, she's so hurt by it. And I love when all three guys with the rope, they're like,
yep, as she's singing on rhythm. They're like, da.
Yeah, the curtains opens and you see Kathy singing. Kathy's like, good morning, or whatever. She's singing in the rain or whatever.
She's getting all mousy, and Lena has no idea.
Lena doesn't know, and she's like, and they're making fun of her dancing. It was so funny.
It's fucking great.
I think that what it got right. The comedy is pitch perfect. I think like every moment that is supposed to be comedic, as far as I could tell, hits perfectly. It's timeless comedy because it's, comedy doesn't age well necessarily, right? Sometimes because of sometimes comedy is referencing something of the day, or it's a certain like fad of like, oh, like 6, 7, like if you make a movie with 6, 7 in it right now, 30 years from now, no one's gonna know what the fuck you're talking about.
30?
5 years from now.
Thank you. Like, come on.
But there's some of that, and I feel like slapstick very often is one of the few that kind of carries forward, and there is some slapstick in this with Cosmo specifically in Make 'Em Laugh. And I do love when he does the walks into the wall and he's like,
yep.
I
and then smacks
love that.
It and it all goes normal. Yeah.
I do love that kind of comedy, but also there is a lot of that like Marx Brother.
Jim Carrey's entire career was born with physical comedy and survived on it.
Yeah. But this is like, I mean, Cosmo to me is the stand-in for a Charlie Chaplin or a Buster Keaton in this.
Yeah.
And also both of Charlie Chaplin made the music for all his own movies. Like he wrote the music for all his own movies. And I think Buster Keaton, coming from vaudeville, you had to do everything, right?
So you were saying that in Buster Keaton, like coming from vaudeville, you had to write,
Yeah,
you had to choreograph, you had to dance, you had to sing, you literally had to do every last piece that was coming out of your body
right.
on your own.
So Cosmo is like that perfect encapsulation
He
of
is.
those two guys,
He
and
absolutely
he
is.
really like I would I mean I don't know that much. What's his name? Donald O'Connor, is that his name?
It
The
is Donald
actor.
O'Connor. Yep.
Like I don't know much about his career other than this movie. I feel like by the time this movie came out, there wasn't a lot for a guy who could do that to do. I
No.
mean, but also so like this movie
So
had
for him, you've got Francis was before. There's no business like show business was after. Call Me Madam after this. I Love Melvin came out the same year as Call Me Madam. Francis in the Navy, like all of these films, anything goes. These are not as well known,
right.
but at the same time, you're right. Like that is his talent is like a bygone talent, like
Yeah,
genuinely bygone talent. And that's what I think makes this film so fantastic is because, as I mentioned earlier, any casual film fan can see him dancing and be like,
yeah,
oh, no, 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 I can't do any of that
yeah.
and sing at
It's
the same time. I can't do shit, you know?
like you get movies where like I love Margot Robbie, and obviously she's a great actress, but I Tanya, you're playing a character in I Tanya who does a thing that you like. No matter how much you prep for the role, you're never going to be able to do, and we as the audience are going to be able to tell, right? So
Yeah.
Tanya Harding could do a triple axel. That's not something that even every professional skater can do, right? Like that's a huge deal. And so there is a like level to which where you're like, oh, this what Donald O'Connor is doing in this movie is very difficult, and it
Yes.
was a specific thing of a specific of a specific like skill set, and
Like it's
for
even a good meta on
yeah,
it because he's doing this in a
yeah,
film, what, 20
right.
years later than it was popular.
Right, right. He was born, so he's born in 25. This place takes place mostly in 27, 28. So he was, like we're not talking, by that point in time, you were still getting a little bit of Buster Keaton and a little bit of
Yeah.
Charlie Chaplin doing stuff, but they were in their 50s or maybe even 60s by that point. And so like they're aging out of it, and it's essentially it's there just isn't anyone to fill that void. So like I literally don't know that you could have cast anybody else to do what he did in this movie.
Especially
Like
not when it was made, because
right.
you're right. Those other guys were so much older, and he was like keeping the torch for this
Yeah.
kind of talent for a
Yeah.
decade
Yeah, I
after
mean
it was
the
even
like
popular.
keeping your nose and like all of that, like
Yeah.
that's so hard. Like I could do when I was at my peak physical, I could do some of these stunt. Like I was very good at physical comedy like this.
Mhm.
I cannot anymore because I can barely stand up straight because of my back. But I could do a lot of stuff. And I can do like the Jim Carrey, like tuck your lip up, and I could do some of those things. Doing like this and in the middle of a dance, like there's no cuts in that dance scene,
No.
so there's
Oh,
no
let me
like,
tell you how few fucking cuts are in this audience.
yeah,
Some of these dance numbers will be
yeah,
continuous, just one camera shot, and there will not be a single miss.
right. And
And
with the dances, you expect that
oh
that
God.
a lot of these people are capable because if you're dancing on stage, like you're doing it in one shot, right? So like, but when you talk about Donald O'Connor, the thing that changes for me with Donald O'Connor is that you have somebody who's, if you're on stage, there's not like some of that stuff you're not going to be able to see, and he does it all, and he
Good
does
point.
it to
Yeah.
perfection in one take. He's not like, okay, I did my dance part, now let's get a couple of like
Up close face
up
shots of me.
close before I
Yeah.
go like I have time to set. No, he's
No, it's
doing it
like
in
his
the
whole
moment.
body. Yeah, it's his whole body from like his knees up to his head and all of that stage or all that sound stage in the background. And he's still going through all these motions.
Right.
I,
What he does is so
it's
impressive.
fantastic.
And
Yeah.
it's funny too because like you get these two guys, like I know that like Fred Astaire was big too, but like Fred Astaire was like a much different kind of dancer style and body type and everything else from Gene Kelly. Gene Kelly
Yeah.
is a dancer as an athlete, and you can see that. Like, I mean, they kind of cover his muscles and like his
He's
bulk up, but he is
he's
built like a
jacked.
he's built like an athlete. He's
Yeah.
and it's athletic, and
Yes.
so you have a guy who is a capable dancer. Donald O'Connor is a very capable dancer to even be able to
Hmm.
keep up with Gene Kelly. But then you see what he does in that scene, and that's athletic. And you have these two guys who are just at like a skill level that like is insane. And then
It
I
is.
mean Debbie Reynolds is like she's talked about how Fred Astaire was like kind of an ass or not Fred Astaire. Gene Kelly was kind of an asshole to her and like
Hmm.
such a perfectionist that like her feet were bleeding and stuff. And but like
Hmm.
she's also very young in this movie like so
Yeah.
but I think she's very capable in this and
She is, and that's actually one of my criticisms is that Kathy can feel underwritten.
yeah I
So she's so central to the plot, but sometimes she was more of an idea or like a foil
mhm.
than she was like a genuine conflict issue. And I I know this is a stretch, but even having a love interest be the second star to the big star in a movie is even a bit of a meta, maybe commentary on the way that females were approached, is
Yeah,
unless they were outstandingly sexualized, they weren't that big a deal.
yeah,
And Kathy's character, she's not unattractive, she's just plain. There's nothing wrong with her, she's just plain. So Kathy can feel underwritten because good she's such a good sticking character, especially for Dawn, but even for Cosmo, because poor Cosmo is like third wheel in all of this. And every once in a while, he kind of comes, especially in singing Good Morning. He You can feel that he's kind of like this
oh,
sad third wheel to the two of them,
but he does it
and
so well. When
he
she
does.
at
I
the end
agree.
when she's like, "That's brilliant, Don," he goes, "Thanks." Like he's the one who came up with the idea, and she says,
Yep.
It's brilliant, Don," and kisses Don, and then she like kisses him, and he goes and like back over the
Yep.
couch, and
Yeah.
he yeah.
My other big criticism, and this is a love of mine
Here
in
we go.
style. What?
I have a criticism too.
Okay, this is a love of mine in style. Like I even talked about it earlier. I'm gonna have to look this up. Kaleidoscope. I think it's called Kaleidoscope Theater, and it's that I'm gonna look it up. It is that specific style where it is large theatrical music numbers done done with like just music, no talking, singing, but it wasn't live recorded. And they were giant sound stages. I mean, freaking giant sound stages. And they would have 2 and 3 story tall sets that like women would walk up in unison and there'd be a man walking down. I cannot remember the style, but I thought it was called Kaleidoscope. But the Broadway ballet sequence is like a 17-minute thing within its own movie. It barely has anything to do with the plot, but I love it. And during that scene, that is when because my wife watched this front to back with me, and actually I sat down for the whole movie. And my autism and ADHD can't sit down for shit for that long, but my
Yeah.
butt did not move off this seat one time. And that when Don Lockwood is doing his younger character with the suitcase and the goofy glasses and everything, and those moving walkways that are behind him, that is one of those moments where Holly said, "How many people are in this movie?" Because there's just constant people running behind him on those moving walkways as he's interacting with only the people in the foreground. And that's before a dam opens up and there's like 30 or 50 people on the screen at one time.
Yeah.
So the Broadway ballet scene in this movie is just, it's like it feels a little self-filleting. It feels a little we're MGM. We've got the money, we've got the time, we've got the talent, and oh, we've got Sid Charisse. Here you go. And also, I am pretty proud of myself for picking out one of the only flubs in this that led me to like that led me to like Don Lockwood's character even more, and therefore led me to like Gene Kelly even more. When he's doing that scene in the jazz club kind of setting,
Mm-hmm.
and you notice that like blip in the video where it looks like there was a quick pan up or down,
Mm-hmm.
it was because Gene Kelly had Sid Charisse wrap her legs around his waist, and it was seen as too scandalous for audiences, and it was cut. And he did it anyway and said, screw you, this is part of it, this is going in the film. So they left the entire rest of the cut in, but
Oh
just
yeah.
cut out that one section when he has her like on his waist, and he's like and he's pirouetting around. Like it
Yeah.
could have been one of those film theatrical performances like I was talking about, and function all by itself.
Yeah.
But it happened to be in this, hour and a half, like freaking masterpiece.
Yes. So my criticism, my thing that could have been improved, is pretty closely related. I think that there is, and I get it, it's a Gene Kelly movie, and while he is a good actor and he's a good singer, he's a dancer. The almost every single musical number goes on longer than it needs to, because they wanted to show off. So like even Singing in the Rain, like we get the bulk of Singing in the Rain, and then there's just like another minute and a half of doo before the cop gets there. And like every
Yeah,
single song has that. And I don't mind it a little bit, but I feel like it wears, by the time you get to that 17-minute like dance thing, I'm like, we've already seen every song
we get it.
exaggerated to the longest
Yeah.
possible. And like and if you like made all the, it's not that long of a movie, right? It's like an app. How long is the runtime?
Runtime for this is 103.
103 minutes. So yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
If you cut down all the dance number or all the songs to like what we would consider like the natural conclusion point of those songs, you probably are like not quite a feature length movie. Like
Okay. Now, you as the filmmaker, do you think that that was something they were aware of, and that's why some of these are so long?
I
Do you
think
think they're like, oh
no,
shit,
no,
we're about to be short on
no.
time, we need to like
Zero
pad this
percent.
out? Or was it,
Zero
so
percent.
it's 100%, we've got this badass, we're squeezing
It's
everything that's,
it's
yeah.
it's three things, and it's Gene Kelly, so you have to like indulge the dance. It's You're doing a movie about musicals in a time where musicals really are fluff, like
Yeah.
the whole broad, like that is what those were, right? So you're doing like
Yeah.
there is part of that. And then also, and I don't have that many 1950s musicals to compare to, but like we had, like all the musicals that we think of, like Sound of Music and My Fair Lady.
My Fair Lady, thank you. Yep,
So like
another great musical.
when you get into that like golden age of movie musicals, it's the mid 60s. So you're talking about more than 10 years after this. So we don't, I mean, I know that like there was some, 1960 is West Side Story. You're still talking 8 years out. So like, I don't know how much of this wasn't just the sensibility of the time, and it doesn't
Okay.
translate that well to 2026. It is not. I mean, I still love this movie. It's still my favorite movie musical, I think, of all time.
Mine
Um,
too.
Although I did love My Fair Lady the one or two times I watched that as a kid, but I like that was my favorite for a long time. But
Mhm.
this is great, but like
Sound of
that's
Music
my
was mine for the longest time. This flipped it.
okay. But I just think that that's like a thing that like for my personal sensibility, I'm like, all right, we didn't need like everything to be as long as it could be. Like every
And,
song,
and reputation and legacy and why this still matters were the big three things for studio notes for me, because we're talking about a film made about the 20s in the 50s in 2026. So the meta's 2 to 3 layers deep. The meta commentary is 2 to 3 layers deep. And I really believe that it's ranked so high, not because it's a meta commentary. Like, it's just a good damn movie with good damn dancing and great
yeah,
musical numbers. It didn't have to be poking fun at its own industry to get there, but
right.
it did. and it survived as like you said, for a lot of folks, me included, the number one greatest movie musical that was a movie first that has ever been made.
Hmm.
And it's like number 5 on the 2007 AFI's Greatest American Films. Like, this is not even just us saying this, not that anyone thought that, but it
Yeah.
is well ahead of like the modern parallel with Silent to Sound Panic. That mapping cleanly into the streaming AI, virtual production, social media fame, like all of those trajectories
Yeah.
that we're experiencing now, especially in creative spaces. Like, there are folks that will shun a creator the moment they use AI. It
Right.
doesn't even matter how they used it. They will shun a creator immediately when they think AI is possibly involved in their creativity process. I
Yep.
think that's ridiculous. AI is a tool, not a crutch, but it's a slippery slope.
So my hot take on this movie is that I like the cinematography on the black and white scenes better than the color. Partly, I don't love Technicolor. It's mostly the color and it's not the movement of the camera and all that shit. It's the
It's of its time. It is timeless.
it's fine. It's not like, but
I
I
I know
like
it's not natural. I know nothing
so
about it is natural.
no.
But
But here's the thing: the black and white that they show when it's up on the screen and they're showing the
yeah.
like that is so much better than black and white was in 1927.
Okay, true.
And so they've really like, so to me that like that pops. And I that was and like it would have been more like, and maybe that's aged film that I'm thinking of when I think about like those old 20s movies, is the film has aged and that's why it's sepia and that's why there's scratches. I always just assumed that's kind of like they didn't take care of the film very well, and like
Probably that
that
too, or it
that
was difficult to
audiences.
store it well.
Right, but I also thought that like audiences in the 20s were seeing a pretty close approximation, because we
Mhm.
do there's lots and lots of restorations of film, and those ones never quite get it the same way that like everything else does. And I'm like, they can do
Yeah.
amazing shit with this. So I just assumed that, and maybe I'm wrong, so that's possible, but I liked watching the black, like I was like, oh, that's like real clean. You got the stark contrasts of dark and light, and whereas you didn't have all that in the 20s, at least from what we see now, with the film being 100, the actual film stock and reels being old. And so like I was like, oh, this pops to me in a way that those movies never did, unless they were like unless they were the Charlie Chaplin and you're not watching for cinematography kind of movies. And then
Yes.
the color, like we it only noted I only noticed it when you would go from that to the black and white back to the color for a minute. I'd be like, oh, the color, you realize how weird the color looks immediately, and that's what Technicolor in general kind of has, that weird look to it, right? Once you get
It's like weirdly high contrast. It's
yeah,
low res, high contrast.
right, right, and so you get that weird and high saturation,
Oh yeah.
like yeah, like
I
saturation
actually mean
contrast,
saturate.
yeah,
I mean
yeah,
saturation more than contrast. You're right. It's like high sat, low contrast, or
right,
low resolution.
yeah,
For me, I get Technicolor because when I see Technicolor, especially because I watched this on a restored version of Singing in the Rain, um, it looks like punched up, remastered, like Disney parks footage to me.
mm,
Disney parks are already so colorful and so dense with things to look at and bright contrasting colors layered on top of each other that when I see like restored like 1960s, 1950s Disney films, like that's what this looks like to me. It's so over the top punchy in the colors, but for the costuming in this film, it makes sense. I was so uh, paying attention to what was going on that I didn't see that. And I'm going to go back and watch those black and white scenes because I bet you they look fantastic to me. My big, like, just this reputation and why it still feels modern is because it just has good writing. There's
no,
real character development. It doesn't fall into the trap of bad character development, weak scripting, people who can sing. Let's put them on film. Like, no, 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 no. That doesn't always make a good movie. It
No.
doesn't.
Yeah.
And the reason that I love this for musicals in May is we're starting off with an absolute home run, but at the same time, it's going to be a good contrast with the other films we're going to do later on for the other three.
Yes, we
You
do
can tell.
recommend this film. If you haven't gotten that from what we've been talking about, then maybe rewatch and listen.
Give us some watch
Uh,
hours. Give us some more watch hours. Go back.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Start the
so,
video
so,
over.
start all over. So yeah, I believe that even people who don't like musicals, if your exposure to musicals was like me as a child, was Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, Bedknobs and Broomsticks, Sound of Music, like if those were your musicals, this is better. And I
Yeah,
mean it's better than those. It's better than those in the humor. It's better than those in the character development. And my big favorite is it's better than those in how it lasts. Like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang is good because I saw it as a kid. I don't think it's a good movie in comparison to this.
yeah.
But it's fun and I remember all the damn songs, you know? So
The only one I know is the title song, and I know it from Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls. Uh, and when he's driving in the safari van, and he's like, "Chitty
yep.
chitty bang bang, we
Bang Bang
love you."
Chitty with you. Hi, Chitty Ho Chitty, everywhere we go. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, ratings, and just heads up to everybody, we gave it the same ratings on both. I'm seeing on the spreadsheet. So
Yep. This is one of the times where, and actually I've highlighted it for how many times Mike and I agree with all. I don't think this has happened. We were the same on Hell or High Water for
yeah,
everything. We're the same on Oppenheimer and Titanic for everything, and for Last Emperor. But usually and more often, we disagree on fun and watchability.
and Parthenope, and Tick Tick Boom,
Okay, Parthenope and Tick Tick Boom as well. And I didn't go that far back.
and The Evil Dead.
Okay. Okay. Yep. Yeah. Evil Dead was straight sevens all the way across. Good call. So yeah, usually we disagree on fun and watchability more than we do on quality. So we
Right.
both gave this an 8 for fun and watchability and
9 for quality. Now let's
9 for
explain.
quality.
For me, the I think I already explained the fun and watchability why it's not a 10. Is just that I think like there's stuff that lingers a little bit long. That's it. What about you?
So fun and watchability is an 8. I can feel you on the songs taking too long. My fun and watchability is because it's a musical. It has that built in. It takes a couple rungs down. It's like after Sideways was made, which by the way we need to watch. After Sideways was made, no one could sell a bottle of Merlot for the life of them, and they had no idea why they didn't like Merlot. But if you serve them a Merlot, they probably wouldn't hate it. Musicals are like that. Someone says musical or musical theater, and the theater geeks go woo, and almost everybody else is like, "Can we watch something else?" It has a built-in wah, like downer. That's why my fun is an 8. I'm saying 8. Yeah, I'm like almost making it not my rating. I'm making it what I think people would rate it, but I really think it could have hit better. However, I also gave 8s to Titanic, to Birdman, to Violent Night. Like these are other films that I see the fun and watchability to the same, and
Yeah.
they're all for different reasons. Now, why is it a 9 and not a 10 for quality?
I don't love Technicolor, man. I think that's about it. Like
That's your hit? Okay.
I honestly, that is just being nitpicky. Like I said it last week with my mom, of like you got to reserve 10s for something like that's just perfect. And I think that like we're damn close on technical. Like I like
We know we are so close.
yeah.
When you so reason for me, you don't like Technicolor. I saw more potential. You had sound stages this big, the size of Costco's. And it's clear, like, as you watch this, there were a couple of moments, for example, to open and Singing in the Rain, when they think that their entire career is over. They push a camera through a window, and you think they're like in someone's house, but they're really on the soundstage for the movie that they're talking about the movie they're making, and then it turns into a dance number and they a dance number, and they move between the different rooms, the kitchen, the living room, the foyer, the front hall, right? So there were
You
so many
talked me into
times.
a 10, okay?
No, but really, like there were so many times where you could have done it. You could have made it that better. I'll give examples of tens. Special Day, Malcolm X, Lawrence of Arabia. Like there are times when you had this much money, like you could have hit this so much better and use those sets in a fantastic staging kind of way, or blocking where you kept having them walk between things and like joke around with the mic placement more as hiding it in other locations and how it sounded like shit. Like there were so many good little moments that I'm thinking, oh, you were so close. But that's why
No,
it's a
see, you
9
just
out of
talked
10
me
for
into a
me.
10. I just changed my rating on it on the spreadsheet. It's a 10 for quality. You talked me
Okay.
into it.
I'm holding it my 9. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm holding it my 9, which still makes this, by the way, before you changed your rating, we rated this exactly the same as Tick Tick Boom on average. The other thing that's oddly enough a musical, and
Yeah.
now with his changing his quality to a 10, we're only a half a point off of Tick Tick Boom. So, we don't hate musicals, both of us.
Yeah.
Let's talk about The Greatest Showman.
I have not seen it. I'm excited. Even as of recording this, I haven't seen it. Like, it's not like this is my first. It will be my first time, but I have not yet seen it.
Yeah.
I will say that like I know a few of the people in it, and I think like
Mhm.
it's interesting because Zendaya
Zendaya.
wasn't really like on adults what do you call it, like radar at this point,
No,
because
she
she was
wasn't.
like a
She was still
Disney
Disney.
Channel kid.
Yep.
And so like I think when this came out, she might have already been in Spider-Man, or no, let me see.
I think
But
she was already in Spider-Man. And also knowing the people in it, when you think of Zac Efron, do you think of musical actor?
I don't, but he started off in High School Musical. So like
Yeah,
I
he did, but then he went and did like regular actor in films.
yeah,
And then you're right, High School Musical doesn't make this as weird, but that's not what I think of when I think of Zac Efron. I think of comedies.
right.
That's what I think of. So to have Zac Efron in this, Zendaya, to have even Michelle Williams, like you're thinking of these people, and like I don't think of you as a musical actor. Now Wolverine, yeah, he's not hard to think of as a musical actor, and I'm just going to say these words: Wolverine Run. When you watch it, think of Wolverine Run.
It's
Okay,
almost like the Tom Cruise
all
run.
right. It is very close to the Tom Cruise run. Just keep that in mind. So anyway, next week, Greatest Showman. It fits. It fits our formula. It had to be a musical first, but
Yeah.
it's not like Singing in the Rain, guys.
No.
It's different.
All right. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe. Give us a comment. Tell us what's your favorite musical. What we have not decided the last two. We're struggling.
This is correct.
So we only know next week's as of right now. So if you want to weigh in, comment and let us know what
Get
you
in those
think we should.
comments. And
Um,
we'll go ahead and fit it into our formula. And if it works, you could be
Yeah.
the one picking our next episode.
Right. And also, like I said at the beginning of the episode, if you have any interest in us doing this, like TBW, let's knock this out, like thing, I think we're gonna post that soon. But comment, like if you think that's a cool idea, or if you have any suggested movies or topics for future months, we want to hear from you, because we're trying to make ourselves see stuff that we don't know about, like, or we haven't seen before, and
we've really stuck to that, or at least I have.
I can't. If we look at the list, I don't think there's been much that both of us have seen going in.
Correct. Either you have or I will have had, but that's about it. Yeah, there's a lot of.
Or we have we've seen bits and pieces of, like
like I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Titanic, for example, is perfect example of the movie that I had never seen straight through, and I thought, Holy shit, that's where the 84 years meme came from. No idea that's where it came from.
Yeah.
But
So yeah, so like let us know because we want to, we want to pick movies that are not necessarily something we would think of, which is where
yeah.
you can help. Um and yeah, and so do that if you're interested in getting these episodes early. As soon as I'm done editing them, you can go over to our Patreon, which I'll link below, and on there we have for $26 for the year. You get all the episodes as soon as I'm done editing them.
That's
I know
52 episodes for $26.
I will say that was 52 at the beginning of the year. Now
Okay, fair.
we're 4 months, almost 5 months. By the time this comes out, we're 5 months in. So it's a little less, but there will be bonus episodes potentially too. I
Yeah.
think we're going to do boosters,
And we're gonna have some BTS.
Yeah.
We'll have some BTS stuff in that pack as well.
Yeah. All right. So thank you very much, and we will talk to you next week with The Greatest Showman.
The Greatest Showman.